All right, I'll let you know.
Hey, what's up, Weekend Warriors? We're welcome back to another Sunday-ish night stream, and yes, it has been quite a while. I've been out of the country, that's why. As before, I'm joined by Kenny,
Hello.
and maybe at some point tonight during the stream we'll talk about the trip. But for now, we're going to talk about our favorite less than mainstream superheroes and what Lantern Corps we think they would fit into. It's something it's not a totally original idea, but it's a fun concept to play with, and we figured we'd give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, how good are you at drawing?
I can make a decent sketch.
Okay, because I was thinking after this, what hero we choose, next week we provide drawings of what we've come up with.
That might be interesting, yeah.
All right. Well, then, do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to choose the Rocketeer. Whoops.
All right, well, let's analyze his feats and his reasonings behind those to see really quick where we think he'd fit in.
Okay. Well, he isn't really exactly a hero or a villain at all. He's just an everyman who gets caught up in shit and finds the rocket completely by accident. And
Well, to be fair, like Hal Jordan didn't ask for the ring.
right. But also, the thing about it is throughout I'm gonna go with the comic version instead of the movie version, just for the sake of this. In the comics, he wasn't even really a hero there. He was just the rocket ended up in his bunker, and he was struggling with money at the time because his girlfriend was a pinup model in the 30s, pretty much doing porn. And he got
Well,
jealous.
let's not say porn because they were gentlemen's magazines, okay?
Gentleman's magazines, okay. Well, anyways, and he wasn't really a fan of that simply because other men were pretty much looking at his girl at that point, and he was really he's a really jealous type character, and that throughout the whole thing, it's the mob is chasing him, and halfway through, he ends up being paid to take down a Nazi spy aircraft during it. Basically, a
Okay.
whole lot happens to my hero, but he's also not a bad person. He's more just a thrill-seeking pilot who gets caught up into shit and involves a subplot about him being jealous about his girlfriend and fear of losing her.
Fair enough.
So I described it right. I mean, you read it also, so
So
did I get
that's
that
that's
correct?
pretty.
Because you
I
read
would
it
say
also.
he does kind of have a sense of right,
Yeah.
a sense of patriotism. Actually, if I were to really place the man, just based on what I've seen from his reasoning behind his actions and everything,
Mhm.
is I would probably place him in the Blue Lantern Corps.
Okay. Now just tell me what the Blue Lanterns do, because I'm not that well informed on the different lanterns.
Okay, well, it's pretty easy. See, every lantern color is associated with a different emotion.
Uh-huh.
So red would be rage, orange is green, yellow is fear, green is willpower, blue is hope, indigo is compassion, and violet, or rather what they call star sapphire, is love.
Okay.
And I say hope because now you would because he's such kind of like your typical 50s rookie pilot hero. He would either be a Blue Lantern or just because he's a pilot, he'd probably be like another Hal Jordan.
Right.
Because he does seem to be like Hal Jordan, except no ring, just a jetpack.
Yeah.
And with his outfit, you could almost do it up like Guy Gardner,
Uh-huh.
which would be kind of cool.
I think I'll have to work with that. Now, how would the helmet look? Would you picture
How
that?
would the helmet? Well, I imagine it would still be the same shape or a similar shape, just because that's what he's used to.
Yeah.
I would picture it probably being the same as the secondary. Actually, probably silver with like a green centerpiece, like
Okay.
a green center stripe down the middle.
Yeah. And his jacket would be green, right? And it would have the Green Lantern symbol on the front.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have a rocket pack because he wouldn't need it.
Then why would he be called the Rocketeer?
Well, that's because he wouldn't be the Rocketeer anymore. He'd be Rocketeer of the Green Lanterns.
Okay. But he also could just use Green Lantern energy and just like shape a rocket behind him just for the sake of design.
He could absolutely, or he could create one to stand on if he wanted to,
Uh-huh.
and surf that bitch through the stars.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the thing is Green Lantern constructs, they allow you to do certain stuff. The reason I say he would also qualify for blue is just his ability to kind of go with this gut feeling that everything's going to turn out all right.
Mm-hmm.
And the fun thing about Blue Lantern rings is they've got all the powers of Green Lantern rings, and when a Green Lantern ring is near a Blue Lantern ring, the Blue Lantern ring will supercharge the Green Lantern ring.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really wicked
Your
cool.
turn.
Okay, my turn. I would have to say, and so a lot of people don't really think about it, but I would like to bring up Jonah Hex.
Okay.
Because I'm a huge ass cowboy nerd. And Jonah Hex, he's tricky. From the very beginning, he's had a lot of bad shit happen to him. He was sold by his parents, trained as a member of a Native American tribe, who he then got framed for betraying,
Mm-hmm.
and got marked with the sign of the demon, which is a made-up ritual in the comics, where they burn the side of his face with a tomahawk, removing some flesh there. And now he's on this great big vengeance quest to... Well, he's not even on a vengeance quest. He just kind of gets caught up in shit. He's a bounty hunter. Because he's a bounty hunter and just weird stuff happens to him. But he's always, doing his best to make sure, at least in the modern depictions of the comics, especially like the New 52 All-American Western series that they had just a few years ago, they made the point that Jonah Hex would always correct people whenever they called someone a Native American by the wrong tribal name.
Right. I know of the movie and a bit of the comics. I knew like Josh Brolin played Jonah Hex.
Yes, and so here's the thing. With the way he does things, I think he would personally qualify for a Indigo ring for the Compassion Lanterns, the Indigo tribe. And let me explain this. So the Indigo tribe works in a unique way. You can either have a great capacity for compassion, or you can have no compassion whatsoever, and the ring will force you to feel compassion, which is why the majority of the Indigo tribe are ex-serial killers.
Ooh.
Now, Jonah Hex has gotten definitely to the point, I think, where he shows compassion to those who are deserving of compassion.
Right. He's
And
basically he's like the Lone Ranger, right?
Pretty much, yeah. He's technically married, although he and his wife are usually millions of miles or thousands of miles apart at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's just been through hell and back again. And the interesting thing about the Indigo Tribe is that they can actually use the powers of the other lanterns one at a time.
Okay.
Now, do I think that he could pull off the whole tribal look? I mean, he seems pretty comfortable in cowboy duds.
Mhm.
But he's at least with the New 52, DC tried to push the idea that he was well aware of Native American customs and such, and that he was raised among them. So perhaps he would, in that depiction, have some sort of because they put when you wear the indigo ring, it also puts body paint on you. So perhaps there would be some familiar patterns that he was aware of. And for me, that's Jonah Hex. What about you? What about got any others?
How about Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man?
Tobey Maguire's version of Spider. That's a tricky one. See, because Spider-Man is a hard cookie to place in general.
Mm-hmm. Let's go specifically off Sam Raimi's version of the character.
I can't say willpower because while he does show an indomitable level of will, it is not what I would. He still was very easily manipulated by the symbiote, and maybe that's an unfair kind of a measuring stick to use. But I think that's what I'm going to have to go on personally.
Manipulated.
And this sounds kind of like a cop out, but I'd have to say blue.
Okay.
Like so blue than green. Like the Rocketeer could have been more green than blue.
Yeah.
Just because of the similarities to Hal, but Spider-Man in any iteration is probably going to be more blue.
Oh, I got a better one. Kamen Rider Ichigo, Hongo Takashi.
Ooh, okay. Now, I actually have to give this one a solid stamp of green.
Okay.
Because willpower, the ability to overcome great fear.
I've seen fan art of Ichigo, and he's always done his Green Lantern, never any other color. So I think you have a point there.
Seriously, the man oozes willpower. I mean, come on.
I mean, he was still doing his own stunts in the 2016 for the movie in that suit.
Well, for what he was physically capable of doing, yeah.
Right.
Because he's old now.
I mean, he's old, but he looks young, and he has a buff build.
Buff-ish. I mean, after a certain point, like no matter how much you exercise, you're going to get a bit of a punch. It's.
Or is that just a lot? He wears thick amounts of clothing.
From what I understand, the reason they made the new Kamen Rider Ichigo suit that bulky is because of his body type.
Okay.
He was getting a little rounder, so they decided to bulk it up here so his waist looked smaller.
Uh-huh.
Because he still insisted on doing his own suit work.
Yeah.
Which, respect to the man, he stuck with it.
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite modern suits, too.
Oh, real quick, a break from that. I wanted to mention this because this was on an article I read a little while ago. That actor is going to be reprising his role as Segata Sanshiro.
Really?
Uh-huh.
When?
I don't know. They haven't announced much else other than that, but
I swear,
in preparation, when I was in Japan, I bought a Sega Saturn.
I swear, if they're going to revive the Sega Saturn,
I don't know if they're going to revive the Sega Saturn or if this is like Sega releasing like a new software game pack of all the Saturn games.
Mm-hmm.
Or if maybe Sega might try to step into the gaming cell phone market that Razer kind of opened up.
Mm-hmm. Did you see
because
the stage show where they basically made it canon that Hongo at short like later on became a mascot for Sega?
Mhm.
I'm dead serious. There was a stage show on it. It was a Sega Press stage show. They had Sega Tasanshiro on doing a press thing, and then Shocker takes over saying they
I
found
saw
Hongo and
this.
they're here to kidnap him. And they started, and he gets the head Sega execs to safety, and then henshins into Ichigo and beats them up. Like it starts off with the Sega Tanjiro theme playing, and then when he henshins, it goes into Let's Go Rider Kick.
That's brilliant. You know what they might have him reprising his role for? And this is just
What?
speculation, but we do see a lot of mini consoles being released these days.
Uh-huh.
So what if there's going to be a Sega Saturn Mini?
Oh yes, that would be cool. So I bet you it's gonna be a commercial with a tiny Sega Tanjiro
That would
or
be
some
brilliant.
Japanese commercial.
Um, anyway, back to the matter at hand.
Uh-huh.
Superheroes and their placement. So yeah, I think any version of Spider-Man, no matter the writer, will always end up in blue.
Uh-huh. I do have a quick question. Is there a real superhero?
Pardon?
Is there a superhero called Kite Man?
I don't know.
Because I was going through I saw a guy dressed up like Kite Man at GalaxyCon. He had like and it looked familiar. I just don't remember I saw it, but he said the name of the character was Kite Man.
I've never heard the name, honestly. I can't help you there.
Okay. Well, never mind, just
Um,
something that came to mind.
so
Ooh, maybe I think I have one. Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers.
okay, when we're sorry, I'm blank. Are we talking Captain Marvel, the Marvel version?
Yeah, Carol Danvers.
Okay, so Captain Marvel.
You saw the movie, right?
Yeah, I saw the movie. I'm just thinking
Okay.
here. I don't know if she's like the way they characterized her. I think it'd be a strong candidate for willpower. And
Willpower.
yes, but if you were to go solely based on costumes, if you look up the Star Sapphire symbol, it looks eerily similar to the Starburst symbol she already has on her suit.
Okay.
And it's actually a lot of Star Sapphires also wear a sash, which some versions of the female Captain Marvel also did.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because the costume similarities are uncanny. But I think if we're looking at characterization, willpower is really the one that we're staring down here.
How about
Um,
Megatron?
Megatron. Oh, well, it depends on which version of the Megatron. If we're talking about the IDW Comics Megatron,
Yeah, let's go with that. I just bought a few IDW comics today, so
okay, so we know that Megatron believes himself to be a revolutionary, that he's standing up for the against the tyranny of the Autobots.
right.
But at the same time, he's kind of a megalomaniac. I would say, depending on which point in the comics you're in, at the very, very beginning, when he was just a minor, I would have put him down as willpower.
Okay.
After that, I would have said, once he started down the path of becoming Megatron, I would have said probably red, and then
Okay.
later on beyond that, I would have said yellow.
Yellow is pure evil, right?
Fear,
Fear. Okay.
the exact opposite of
How
green.
about Starscream?
Sniveling little. Starscream, he's orange. He's greed.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much. That was easy.
Yeah. I've got
Bumblebee.
one. Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Oh, easy as pie. He's green.
Yeah. You were saying?
I've got a character for you that might be a little more difficult to nail down. The Mask.
That would be a mosh posh.
Now, I want to actually say that he would be yellow.
Really? I think the mask would just weld all the rings, honestly.
No, follow me on this.
Okay.
The reason I say he would be yellow is because in the comics, he is not exactly a good guy.
Right?
As a matter of fact, you could say that in many different versions of the comics, he actually straight up myrtleizes the bad guy.
Uh-huh.
All while, doing it in a very frightening and ironic way. So imagine the Mask with its twisted sense of mind being worn by Stanley Ipkiss with a yellow ring, creating cartoonish nightmares.
That's funny. Okay, I got one for you. This isn't a fictional character, but it's an actual celebrity. Ben Stein. Because you brought up the mask, and that reminded me of something. Ben Stein.
Oof.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm sticking.
Ben Stein's the actor who's bald, always talks in a boring monotone.
Oh yes.
Bueller.
Stein. I love. Now it's all coming back now.
Yeah.
Ben Stein. Yeah. Guardian of the Universe.
Guardian of the Universe, really?
Well, the Guardians of the Universe were the ones that created the Lantern system in the first place.
Okay. But why would you put Ben Stein as Guardian of the Universe?
Because they shun all emotion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
There's a lot to, because I'm going through all the stuff I've read, and
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He don't even need a fucking ring, man. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, what do you have if you had one?
Probably green or probably green or possibly indigo.
Okay. Deadpool.
Deadpool. Oh, he wouldn't even be. Actually, if you go into the comic books and you look into his whole backstory, I honestly think Deadpool would qualify either for indigo or for red.
Mm-hmm.
And I say indigo probably more likely than red.
Yeah.
Because even in the comics, even though he's a lot of times he's doing his lol memes thing, he shows moments of genuine compassion towards other characters.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me look through. I've got one here. Dream from DC Vertigo's The Sandman.
Okay.
Now, this is a little trickier to place because Dream is a DC character, but he's not. He's a characterization more of an idea.
Okay.
As long as people dream, he exists.
Okay.
And he is neither good nor evil. He just wants to keep the realm of dreams in balance.
Okay.
Now, he does actually show emotion quite often. He shows himself to be vulnerable to such things. But I would say he would very easily categorize as a Blue Lantern of hope.
Okay.
Because that seems to be the primary resource of the dreaming. But at the same time, I think he would also qualify for the Blue Lantern ring's polar opposite on the spectrum, which would be yellow. Because he can give wicked nightmares.
All right.
We've
Let's
got
go a
like
bit old school now. How about Tommy Oliver?
Tommy Oliver. Oh, from Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Well, we know it's either gonna be green, white, or red.
Yeah.
I'd say black, but he ain't died yet.
What
Uh,
does the white color do?
the White Lanterns are the white light of creation, and that's what happens when you fuse the powers of all the other Lantern Corps.
Okay. So basically, Green Ranger season 1, Green Ranger after the whole evil curse thing, he would be Green Lantern. White Ranger Saga, he'd be White Lantern, and when he'd be a Red Lantern.
No, I was just making a joke about his suit colors, but if we were going based on it, I would think it would be. I think it'd be a solid green throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
I think it would have to have happened the moment he broke the curse of Rita's control,
Mhm.
is because that's when he would prove his willpower.
Right. Let me think. The Hulk. Be Red
Oh,
Lantern, right?
but he would definitely qualify for a Red Lantern ring, but I do not think Atrocitus would allow him to stay as a Red Lantern.
Why?
Simply put, Atrocitus is the only intelligent Red Lantern. He tries to keep the others under control. You
Okay,
cannot control the Red Hulk.
that's true.
Now, here's the thing, though, is like Atrocitus, that would probably be one of the surefire ways to kill the Hulk, is to give him a Red Lantern ring and then take it away.
That's how you kill the Hulk.
Well, because of how Red Lantern rings work.
Right.
Once you put one on, your blood is replaced with this red. They call it the napalm of rage, and it causes your heart to fail. So the ring replaces your heart, and if it is removed by anyone other than a Blue Lantern, you will die. It's due to heart failure.
Okay.
So yeah, Hulk easily qualifies for a Red Lantern ring. It's just that I don't think Atrocitus would allow him to remain one.
Right. Hmm.
Um, there's a couple others I guess we could look at. Now, obviously, we could do the Avengers, but those have been done to death.
Yep.
Uh, hmm.
Godzilla.
I don't. Godzilla is actually truly neutral in a lot of his endeavors. I don't think he qualifies for any of them.
Because
Although, if
Godzilla
we're talking
doesn't
like,
really care about anyone. So,
although if we're talking Godzilla Senior after he died, he might qualify for a Black Lantern ring, which would scare the piss out of me.
what does the Black Lantern ring do again? Remind me.
Death.
Okay.
You can only have a Black Lantern ring if you have already died once.
So basically, it'd be Shin Godzilla time 10.
And it allows you to feed off of the emotions you instill in other people, which Godzilla would be an awful lot of fear.
Yeah. Hmm. Think. Thawne.
Thawne.
You know who that
Um,
is? The
not a,
Reverse Flash.
oh, Eobard Thawne. Okay, that's a good one. Although I would have to say, oof, and this is tricky. I might just from recent things, I would have to say that he qualifies for the Ultraviolet Lantern Corps.
Okay. How so?
The Ultraviolet Lantern Corps core is all those deep little dark emotions that you want to keep hidden from everyone else.
Right.
And this is another one of those rings that controls you, not the other way around.
Right.
And I say that because Eobard Thawm very clearly wants to be Flash. But at the same time, Eobard Thawm also showed incredible compatibility with many of the powers that are orbiting the source of the Ultrafat Lantern Corps' power. So Eobard Thawm in the comics currently no longer doesn't just have the negative speed force, he also has the slow force, or the still force, sorry, the strong force, and the strange force.
Okay.
So now he generates across the multiverse the powers that allow all psychics to be psychic. All of the
Did he ever get redemption ever?
no, he doesn't deserve it. He's going to die alone and unhappy.
That's
So
sad.
saith the character writers.
So
But yeah, I would say
no version he never got a happy ending or a redemption arc.
not off the top of my head. There have been some where he's like kind of achieved it because he brought in his own apprentices and stuff, but he was still a bad guy.
Right. Like the version in the CW is that pretty accurate to the comics? I've only read a bit of the Thawne in the comics.
Well, in the comics, Thawne has this. The reason he became the Reverse Flash is because he had this really bad case of hero worship.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
And he's got this thing where he wants to prove that he's better than the Flash, or like that he can beat the Flash in order to prove that he's better, but at the same time has this mental block where he can't bring himself to be better.
Okay. If I'm correct, though, he didn't he like recreate the accident that created the Flash, and then traveled back in time to meet him, but then saw the Flash beating the shit out of a future version of himself.
Well, you're right up to a point that he did recreate that accident and go back in time to meet the Flash. From there, it varies from writer to writer.
Okay, but what are the different versions of why he turned evil when he went back?
Most versions, it's usually just jealousy.
Oh, that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
I thought one of them was, or I thought it was literally he went back in time, but he suddenly got into a point where he saw himself fighting the Flash, and him being not believing in choosing your destiny, that destiny chooses shit for you. He just went along with it.
There are some versions like that, but more often than not, it's kind of just a weird Flash obsession.
Okay.
Because he so desperately wants to be the Flash.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when he got a hold of the Still Force, the Strong Force, and the Strange Force, on top of his negative Speed Force, he stole one of the Flash's red costumes and ran around wearing it, calling himself the Flash, the true Flash.
In his time, right?
No, in front of Barry Allen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he is one of the big bads now.
Yep. Now, what do you think of the CW version? The character.
It does an all right job. I've got a couple. Like the CW is its own thing.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest,
well, I've told you Reverse Flash with that show was. I've told you Reverse Flash is my favorite DC villain already, right?
Yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
I didn't care for how they characterized the Black Flash, because in the
Right.
primary comics he serves a totally different purpose.
Hmm.
In the comics, all the Black Flash is just the Grim Reaper for speedsters,
Hmm.
the only form of death that can catch them.
So you didn't like that he was originally Zoom and that the Speed Force killed him and used him as a Reaper?
I mean, it works. It works. It's just there was all this characterization back and forth. Could he be like
Was it predictable though that he was going to become Black Flash?
kind of, yeah, but see, the thing
Because
is like with Zoom, I should say, is one of my biggest qualm with it, because in the some of my favorite versions, and again, the CW is its own thing. It's telling its own
yeah.
story. My favorite versions are where Barry Allen becomes the Black Flash.
Hmm.
I like that twist that that the Speed Force has its own Grim Reaper that it made out of the first person to generate it.
Right.
And I don't know, it kind of tickled me.
Hmm. Um, I think that's it for now. What do you want to talk about now?
Well, I guess we
Vacation and
could,
stuff?
yeah, I guess we could talk about my trip to Japan if we wanted to. Is there anything you wanted to know about in particular?
Oh, well, you go. I'll be listening as the audience is too.
Oof. So, like I said, I spent like 2 months in Japan recently, and it was quite an experience. I stayed in an area called Adachiku near Nishirai
Mhm.
Daishi Nishi Station. My hostel was just a few minutes from the local temple, and one of my favorite things to do was to just go to the convenience store, grab something for breakfast, and then I'd go sit in the temple courtyard in front of the koi pond and just eat my breakfast.
You're allowed to eat in like a temple koi pond?
Not in the koi pond, in a courtyard. There was a koi pond in the courtyard that I was watching.
Oh, okay.
Um, and the temple itself really was beautiful. It had two koi ponds that were kind of connected underground, so that the koi had a lot of room to move around. And most weekends, it uh, it seemed pretty busy with like a farmers market all around the temple, and there was even a festival uh, when the new emperor took the throne,
Hmm.
because Japan's in the Reiwa era now. Um, and I would try to get out into Tokyo, as often as I could. I spent a lot of time riding around on the JR Yamanote line. JR being the
Cool.
service through which most of Japan's railways are kind of hosted. And the Yamanote line is sort of a big ring that runs through the Tokyo area. And I know what a lot of people are going to be thinking is like, what did you think of Akihabara? And Akihabara is great if you're a gamer.
Say that again.
Um,
You glitched.
Akihabara is great if you're a gamer.
Okay.
Because that's primarily it's Akihabara. It's Electric City. It mostly deals in the newest electronics and stuff.
They don't do like toys anymore.
They have toy shops, yeah, but if you really want toys, then it's not. You don't want to go to Akihabara. Where you want to go is a shopping center in Nakano called Broadway.
Broadway.
Yes, but it's not what you think. Uh, it's just a big shopping center. and they've got 17 different outlets for a toy store called Mandarake, which specializes in old vintage toys from around the world.
Okay.
And every single store has a different, and every single Mandarake store has a different visual theme. Like the one on the first floor, you've got Gigantor, or as we call him, Tetsujin, and a bunch of different like scrap punk things welded together around the sign to make it look like this post-apocalyptic nerd shop. You go up to the next floor, and there's a couple of outlets where there's one with those, the big wooden gates that sit up in front of temples, right? The big red ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've got like a store that you walk through 5 of those, and then the entire floor is just a bunch of illuminated lights, and then you can walk around. They've got these glass front displays with all these classic toys for sale, including Godzilla toys back from before the Godzilla movies were in color. So they just put Godzilla in whatever color plastic they had available at the time, which is why you get a lot of rainbow Godzilla toys.
That makes sense. They're freaking expensive too.
Uh-huh.
All the translucent Godzilla toys, the rainbowy ones at Raleigh SuperCon yesterday, were in the 70s at the least.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's even like toy stores dedicated to stuff out here in the West in Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And the folks at Broadway are the coolest. I got off the train, walked outside the train station, and saw 5 different pompadours.
That's
cool.
It was
beautiful. It was beautiful. So if you really want like toys and manga and stuff, Broadway is the place you really want to go. It's a little out of the way, but it's well worth it.
Okay.
I also spent a little bit of time in Shinjuku. Literally everything happens in Shinjuku. I went to go see the new Godzilla film at Toho Theaters on Godzilla Street in Shinjuku.
How was it?
It was great. And when I say Godzilla Street, there is literally a street in Shinjuku called Godzilla Street. And it leads up to Toho.
I never asked you how you liked the movie.
Well, it's definitely the best American one by far, but that is not saying a lot.
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid letting like the whole movie experience wash over me and cloud my judgment. I do have to say, objectively, it is the best American one by far. Is it the best Godzilla film of the modern age? I would say no. I'd say that title still belongs to Shin Godzilla.
Okay.
But this gives me hope that American films can do better with Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about best giant monster fight movie in recent years?
In recent years, it would have to be Shin Godzilla.
Does that even count, though? Because Godzilla was the only giant monster in that movie, so it doesn't count. I mean, like Kaiju Brawl.
There's been a few. I haven't seen a lot of them.
Attack on Titan counts. Have you seen Attack on Titan yet?
Not really any interest in it.
The live action one?
I had never really any interest in the series. I'm going to get lynched for saying this. I never really had any. Could never find anything about the concept as a whole to latch on to. I mean, like,
I don't really care about the anime or comic either, but I love the movie. Yeah. And I don't care if I get lynched for it.
I don't know. Does Jurassic World is kind of a redundancy on the Jurassic Park series, but
doesn't count either.
You don't think the giant artificially created dinosaurs that never existed count as kaiju? If we're talking like the great big shit. Oof.
Yeah. Pacific all-out account though.
I Pacific Rim was kind of meh.
Okay. What was the other than Godzilla King of the Monsters? What was the last like actual authentic giant monster brawl movie we've had?
They had one just a few years ago. It was based on like Rampage, I think it was called.
Oh, Rampage, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I've been meaning to because
I
I've
want to.
I've seen the scene where the monkey's just given the finger. It's just so that's on my list. I think that might be fun.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, actually, I love that video game too, Rampage, the arcade game.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of arcades, um, unfortunately, if you've got asthma, you cannot enjoy a lot of the classic arcade games in Japan
Why not?
because the arcades that have the cabinets with the older games loaded onto them
Oh.
typically will allow smoking in the arcade,
Hmm.
and it's just I was sitting in there, and you can't sit in there for more than a few minutes without getting a sore throat.
Okay. Well, that sucks.
Like if you Yeah, because like if you walk by, some of the machines have ashtrays on them.
Oh, that
They're just
sucks.
piled high with cigarette butts.
Wow.
But I put up with it because I wanted to goddamn play my Gundam.
Was it the Pod Simulator Gundam game?
No, I couldn't find that.
Was this like an old classic retro 8-bit
Mm,
Gundam game?
no, it was an arcade that had some of the newer stuff in it, but it was a Gundam Extreme Versus,
Okay.
which was really fun. They were having like an event there that day.
All right.
My favorite, I actually got a Nessica pass for, was a game called Starwing Paradox. And now, Starwing Paradox is a mech piloting game in which you sit in this chair with pilot's controls on the armrests. And
Yeah.
as you move in the game, the chair will rock back and forth.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
There's a Chuck E. Cheese I went to that had one of those.
There's probably something similar. And then, another game I enjoyed playing was Dissidia Final Fantasy.
Hmm. My favorite type of arcade games are the moving seat ones where you're like racing on like a super bike, or Cruising USA where you had the full car setup and everything.
Okay. I came across one game that I thought was kind of interesting. I sucked at it, but I had fun.
Uh-huh.
It's called Densha de Go, and it's literally just a train engineering simulator for the modern JR lines. It's a video
That's
game that
cool.
trains you to run the JR trains.
Did they have Initial D?
Yeah, some arcades did have Initial D.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, because a lot of arcades, especially Taito Station, will organize the types of games via the floor of the arcade. So the
Yeah.
driving games were all on one floor. So you'd go Initial D, Initial D, Initial D, Mario Kart,
Yeah. Of course, Mario Kart is in there.
and then I
Is that
went
where
to
the
this
train
part.
simulator was?
Yeah, it was actually by the Initial D machines.
Ah.
And
How hard was Train Sim?
it took some getting used to because you have to time the throttle.
What's the name of it? Because I'm gonna try to see if it's on the Japanese App Store for free.
Densha de Go.
How do you spell that? I gotta
Den.
turn in my Japanese account.
So it's well in English it's Den.
On Kenny. God damn it. Guess what my Japanese account name is?
Go ahead and tell me. I'm certain
Mango
I've.
Takashi.
Mm-hmm.
Were you gonna guess that?
It was gonna be something tokusatsu.
So have you figured out? Do you have Apple? I take it.
No.
Oh, well, if you get Apple and you wanna, I know a few people who know how to make Japanese Apple accounts.
Anyway, the game name in English would be technically it would just if you were spelling it in hiragana, it would be spelt like it sounds. Actually, I think it's in katakana. It would be Densha de Go, but in English it would be DEN.
Okay, well, I'm trying to log in right now. Wi-Fi on. Kenny dot Hodgen.
Oh, you probably don't want to say that on stream.
Okay. Well, I don't know my password.
Yeah, but sometimes that's all you need. Oh, by the way, if you want a really good like 80s comic book to read,
Yeah.
I recommend Skeleton Warriors.
Oh, really?
It's good. It just reeks of 80s.
Okay, I'll look into it. I'm still trying to log in here.
Well, while you're logging in, I'll explain how the game works. You actually step into the cab, the driver's cab of a densha, a train engine. And in the Taito station I was in, they actually had a jacket and a hat that made you look like an engineer hanging up there that you could wear while you played. Then you've got 3 screens, a front one and 2 at an angle, and then a touch screen down here. And the whole point of the game was you would essentially just you would run through all the stops on that particular rail line. And the control panel for the train was on the touchscreen, and depending on which model of train you were driving, the control setup would change.
All right, I'm logged in now. What's the game?
Densha de Go, and that de is spelled D-E.
Spell it out.
D-E-N.
Okay.
S-H-A.
S-H-A.
D-E.
D-E.
Hyphen go. And that's just spelled in Romanji. If it were spelled in katakana, which I believe it's meant to be, it would be just Densha de Go. I don't imagine it is yet. It's probably on 3DS in the Japanese eShop.
Sim, train sim.
There's a lot of those. It's probably not the same experience though.
Mm-hmm. Train Drive ATS I found.
I don't know too much about the Japanese app store.
Okay.
I can only tell you what I saw in the arcades. I did play a lot of Gamba Ride.
This looks cool.
Yeah?
This is I'm gonna get it. It's free. It's like a train racing game. It has weird spiracial looking tracks too.
Ah. Well, I think that's pretty much it for the night anyway.
It's getting late, so we should probably close.
Sign off, yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us or catching up with us if you decided to catch up with us. It was great being back, and I hope that we can make this a more regular thing.
Yeah, and as always, stay more phenomenal, everyone.
See you later, Weekend Warriors.
See you next Sunday.